Hey, what's poppin', everyone? So in this video, I'm going to tell you the languages you can learn to earn you the most money in 2020. So I'm getting this data from 2019's, so that's around 3 months ago. The Stack Overflow had a survey where they surveyed 90,000 developers or so, what languages they used and how much money they made. And from that survey, that's where I'm going to get this information from. I'm going to link it in the description as well. It's based on US, I guess, jobs, but of course it's going to correlate to global as well. All right, before I get into the big hitting languages, I want to give runner-up awards to popular languages that might not earn as much, but they definitely do have their uses and they still earn decent sums of money, definitely more than the average in the United States. All right, so I'm going to start at the bottom of the list with the languages that earn you the least amount of money, and I'm going to slowly work my way to the top. So at the bottom is, of course, HTML and CSS. They're probably the easiest languages to learn in this list, and since they're so simple, like some people don't even call them languages. Like they're so simple that like you have to use them for like web development to like make a website, or at least most of the time you have to use them. And I mean, you can just use something that makes the HTML, CSS as well. You don't have to learn these, but if you want to make a website. But since they're so simple and that like they're so widespread, it's probably the cheapest to, I guess, get a website going. So that's why it's only 105K. All right, next on the list is C#. And C# is also 105K. And there's a reason it's so low on the list, is because people use C# mainly for game development. Of course, you can use it for pretty much everything. It's a working language that can do pretty much everything. But it's used a lot for game development. Like I think of using it like in the Unity engine. That's where I used it before, to like develop Unity games and stuff like that. And you might know about game developers is that they make generally much less money than other developers, like other kind of software engineers. So the reason they make so less money is because people grow up playing these games. So they think, oh, I want to build games for a living so I can be a gamer my whole life. And everyone wants to do that, of course. And because of that, it's going to be paying less because everyone wants to have this job. And the reality is that oftentimes these game developers get overworked and underpaid. All right, next one is SQL and JavaScript. It makes sense for JavaScript to be 110K. This is similar to the salary of the HTML, CSS, because they kind of go hand in hand. Because many people use JavaScript with HTML and CSS. It's a little bit higher because there is a little bit more complexity than just HTML and CSS. And then there's also SQL here in this 110K. Because if all you know is a SQL, which you need to get in like a 100-foot radius of a database, then you don't really know anything else. So that's why you're probably just like a database admin or something like that. If all you know is SQL and you don't know like any other languages. So that's why it's 110K as well. All right, the next highest up is of course TypeScript, which is kind of like a subset of JavaScript. And it's going to pay more because it's a subset. So you need to know JavaScript. Well, I mean, definitely need to know JavaScript to use TypeScript. And TypeScript isn't always necessary. It's kind of like people like to use TypeScript over JavaScript for a variety of reasons. I'll probably make a video on that one day. But since you need to know JavaScript, it's going to pay more. And this is kind of also where the trend is going to start, where more niche languages like this, because TypeScript is a niche language. You don't have to you can just use normal JavaScript. The more niche you get with these programming languages, generally the higher salary you're going to get as well. All right, the next on the list is Python. And Python will make 116K on average. And this is kind of like the middle of the pack between like the low end and like the high end of salary ranges here. It's not too niche, but because everyone wants to learn Python, it's one of the most popular languages, not the most popular, that is JavaScript. But everyone wants to learn Python because they want to get the fame and fortune of learning Python so they can work at these big tech companies. And That's of course why it is so high. So Java is used almost everywhere. So it's a very common language, but it is starting to get old. Like I remember learning Java like almost 10 years ago or so. Wow, it makes me feel old, but like it's still a lot of large companies use it like as not their like main language, but like pretty much their main language. All these companies don't have main languages, so like Amazon, a lot of Amazonians will use Java. All right, so both C and C++ are at, strangely enough, at 120K as their salary range, even though like C++ kind of was developed from C. So we start to get into these very specific languages that have kind of very specific uses. Like not everyone is going to use C just for like a common web server. Like you probably can, but you would probably want to use a more modern language, and you can use C++ for that, which is more modern than C. But so people, and I'm not saying this to like offend anyone, but people who use C are generally much older than people who use C++, because C is like one of the oldest languages, and it's much closer to the hardware. So people kind of grew up learning C, and then they just never stopped using it, which is fine. It's definitely can do the job, and most all these languages can do the job. So it's fine whatever you learn. All right, moving on to even higher earning languages. I've just grouped these all because I don't really know much about them. Ruby, Rust, and Objective-C. So they all make much more than all the other languages combined, but with that comes a lot of costs, and some of those costs I'll talk about with the highest earning languages, which we'll get to next. So I'm just going to glance over these. If you want to look at them, you can. All right, so now we get into the highest tier of languages in terms of salary, not necessarily in terms of like performance. So Go, sometimes called Golang because that's the website. It's golang.net or org, I don't remember. But Golang, people who use that as their main language will earn $136,000, which might seem like a lot of money, and it is to the general population of the United States. So it has a similar syntax to C, but has many bells and whistles that come with a modern language. All right. So Go was actually originally designed at Google, and they had some purposes to make this language, and that's why the salary is so high, $136,000, because anything even related to Google, like if it was made at Google, I'm sure some people use it at Google, will have loads of money packed into it. So that's why it's so much higher than the other ones, and also there's a bunch of different reasons. Maybe like not many people use it, and the people that use it, there's not many of them. So the motivation behind making Go comes from a hatred of C++. So people didn't like using C++ for a multitude of reasons. So if you like earning money, like a load of money, and you just really dislike C++, then maybe learning Go or Golang, whatever you want to call it, might be right for you. Of course, with these higher paying languages, there's not many companies hiring to develop these workers. I mean, hiring these developers to work in these languages. So be cautious. Don't just take my word for it. Look to see if anyone is hiring for this. Now, on to the highest language according to Stack Overflow in 2019 is, drumroll please, Scala. So Scala will make, on average, $143,000 a year as a salary. And you probably have not heard much about Scala, so let me read you an excerpt of what it has to say for itself on their website. So Scala is a modern multi-paradigm programming language designed to express common programming patterns in a concise, elegant, and type-safe way. It seamlessly integrates features of object-oriented and functional languages. So Scala is pretty cool because you can use some of the same libraries that you might use in Java and JavaScript. And if you don't know, Java and JavaScript have a lot of libraries in them, so that's a big plus for the language. And you can do this because Scala runs on the JVM, which is the Java virtual machine. So in a similar manner to Go or Golang, however you want to call it, Scala was made from a hatred of Java, kind of how like Go was made from a hatred of C++. I'm saying hatred here, but I'm sure they didn't hate the language, they just dislike certain things about the language. So if you like money even more than Go, and you have an intense hatred and despisement, that's not a word, of Java, Scala might be the language for you to learn. So a word of warning when trying to chase these high-paying language jobs is that, yes, they are high-paying, but they come with a cost, either a cost or some risks behind them. So prestigious companies that have a lot of money, they have just like pools full of money, will pay a lot of money to get these high-paying language developers. And this also makes so not many companies are going to hire for these languages similar to Go and Scala, because only these like very prestigious select companies who have, for some reason, they just have a developer and that wants to use this language and this language alone. So if you lose your job and all you know is this language, like this really high salary language, but not many jobs are looking for developers in this language, then it can become very difficult to find a new job in a potentially different language, because all you know is Go or Scala, and you have such a niche experience that not many people are going to want to hire you. So this is a high risk, high reward. So the risk here is that not many people want to hire you, but the high reward is if you do get hired, you're going to make bank. You're going to be rolling in the moolah. So you trade consistency for a high spike in salary, and that is your choice to make, not mine. All right, thanks for watching this video. If you liked it, make sure you subscribe and like the video. I'll talk to you later. Peace.